discovered that rapier, and he had believed that it was a sword his father left behind for him, even since he started practicing his swordsmanship. Also, if he ever met his father someday, he wanted to become a son that he could be proud of by impressing him with how well he could wield the sword he left behind for him. However, his mother always stared at him with teary eyes filled with concern. Then he sadly tells him how his mother asks him never to look for his father as he lives in a completely different world from them. Even though on her deathbed, her mother never told him his father's name. After listening to this, Desir thinks illegitimate children are often viewed as the symbol of disgrace to the noble family. Suppose he went to visit his father as an illegitimate child with no status. So, it's highly possible that Pram would have never made it to this academy, and Pram's mother, even after her death, had always been watching over and protecting him. Then Prem said that despite his mother's warning, he wanted to know who his father was, and he came to Haviren Academy because he wanted to see his father. Since Haviren Academy is where nobles from multiple nations attend, and he thought he could find a clue as to who his father was, he decided to inspect the only lead he had on him, the rapier. Still, after reviewing the rapier, it turned out rapier was just a cheap iron sword. And the only thing his father and mother left behind for him, it turned out, was just an ordinary and reasonable iron sword. While crying, he said a trash item like this was something that his father left behind for him and his mother. He always believed that it was unique and precious to him, then he threw it away, saying it was just a shitty item. While crying and hitting himself, Pram said he had endured so much believing and trusting in the sword that his father left behind for him. Desir gets sad to see Pram in this situation. After this, at night, Desir, while sitting alone, wonders that he had no idea that Pram was in that situation. Then he thought about how he could help Pram. While walking, he thought Pram wielded a rapier if his memory wasn't serving him wrong. Also, he's sure Pram in the past life didn't live a different life than the current Pram. So how did the past Pram take up the rapier? Then he thinks of the silverlight rapier Pram showed him. He remembers seeing that in a past life as well. The next day, Desir goes to him to ask about the rapier, but Pram says he doesn't want to talk about that rapier anymore. But Desir requests him to show this sword even though he already saw it earlier, but he wants to see it once more. Desir repeatedly asks him to give him that sword. After all, Pram tells him he has already sold that sword off. After this, Pram takes him to Haviren Academy Market District where he has pledged that sword. While on the way, Desir thinks it's been such a long time since he last comes there. Then he remembers how in his previous life he used to visit that place and also buy items and various other things. Then they come to Wujukin's antique shop where there was a board outside the shop where there was written that even if someone changed his mind there will be no refund there. And even if the antique becomes defective there will be no refund there. Also there is absolutely no refund process there. While Desir feels this place is very greedy for money as everything was not refundable there. Before coming into the shop, Pram said he is repeating but he will never wield that rapier ever again. However, after passing through the hall there was an iron door and the security there was quite tight. Also there was even a barbarian for the deposit. He welcomes them in the shop saying they both don't seem like thieves. Then there was a man sitting. He accepts them by telling his name that he is Wujukin. After that he means that the security there is relatively high because he had been getting quite a bit of thieves recently. However, after seeing Pram, he asks as he comes to his shop. Before then he asks them why they have come to his shop. Did he come there to sell him another item? At this, Desir said it quite the opposite. He come there to see the item that his friend sold to him. At this, Wujukin angrily replies there is no refund there. He stated that at the entrance. But Desir politely replies he isn't there for a refund. He is there to repurchase that item. Wujukin gets happy to listen to this. After this, he replies he should have said that from the beginning. It's right over there, a very rusty iron blade it is. But he saw this blade wasn't a sword. Did he know that he had never seen one of this size? But this is an ornamental sword, and it's a gift that noble give to their finances. And as he said he wanted to repurchase this item, so then it will be 40 silver pieces. After hearing all this, Pram shouted by saying he never told him that this was an ornamental sword, and he said it was only worth 90 bronze pieces when he bought it from him. At this, he replies that he only asked for him to inspect the price of this blade, so he only told him the price of this blade. Just looking at the blade alone, it is just a cheap iron sword. Also, even selling it for 40 silver pieces is a dangerous offer, and if he knew how to unsheath that ornamental sword he would have asked for 80 silver pieces instead. So are they going to repurchase? At this, Desir replies that he will still buy it. At this, the seller man said if he knew he would buy it this fast, maybe he should have asked for a higher price. At this, Desir said if he asked any higher than what he had already offered, then he would be losing face as a merchant. Then he gives Pram his sword saying he will accept it, but he won't be wielding this rapier. Trust him and take the rapier for now. Also, does he see the deep groove on the handle? Could he insert his fingernail there and then push down on it? A groove is at this. While Pram was standing there holding a rapier at this, he said there is a blade hidden inside of it. He asks this blade is so high. However, Desire tells him that this rapier is the blanksome. After listening to this, seller man asks Desire if is he sure that it's the blanksome. After this, Desire explains to them saying blanksome is a material that is stronger than steel. Any weapons or equipment made from this material are known to never break or wear down. Anything made with this material is something that every swordsman covets, and above all else this material is so light that the weight is barely noticeable. Desire think that was probably why he thought there was nothing inside of this ornamental sword that was the rapier that the past Pram wielded. After this, Desire asks Pram for going. Meanwhile, seller man asks him if he is going to play dirty Wujukan, and he asks him to hand over that rapier. The guard also blocked their way, and then he put his sword on Desire's shoulder. At this, H said to Wujukan he is a lot more foolish than he had expected. Then Wujukan says the value of that rapier, he knows about it more than them. The thing he sold to them was ornamental and he paid him the price for it, so their business ended there. Desire replies the item he sold to them was the decorative sword and he paid its price, so their business ended there. At this, seller, the man said if he knew that rapier was the blanksome he would have never sold it to him. After this, Desire replies if he had told Pram that this rapier was an ornamental sword, he would have never sold it to him in the first place, and he is just doing the same thing he did to them. At this, Desire asks them to open the door so that they can go, but the owner orders his guard to stop them. However, Desire said to the owner the way he talks reminds him of his friend Donovan, who calls him weak while he wonders if he is doing well. At this, the barbarian attacks him with his weapon, but his attack does not affect Desire. Then Pram comes with his rapier to save Desire, but he asks Pram as he said he weren't going to use that rapier again. At this, Desire, while laughing, said he will be in his acre fellow party member. However, the guard comes toward them to attack. At this, Pram requests Desire to stand back a bit further for him. Then the barbarian attacked and a fight started between the two of them. Desire standing aside think Pram's movement is entirely different from when Haz was wielding his longsword. Also, he has perfect form now and he probably won't have to worry about him now, but barbarians who fought with pure strength are natural enemy warriors who fight with their sword. But Pram lacks the experience from an actual fight. He wonders if he is going to be okay and if he does fall into danger. Meanwhile, Pram attacked with his sword. At this, Desire said he guess he won't have to step in after all. Although it was brief, it felt like he saw the Pram from the Shadow World once more. But the barbarian was shouting he is more robust and he will take him down, but Desire was confidently standing aside thinking that even after hearing barbarians talk for quite some time it's still a bit hard to get used to their speech. However, the fight between the barbarian and Pram continued as the barbarian moved forward to attack him while holding the weapon. Pram quickly jumped up and down and attacked him with his rapier. He attacks him with all his might even though the barbarian gets cut on his body and starts bleeding. He was surprised to see the speed of Pram's attack. He thought about his sword fighting style that fit his small build. He gets angry. Meanwhile, Pram attacks him again, but seeing the speed of his attack, he doesn't understand where he is coming from and where he is going. He saved himself with his weapon and finally understood that Pram's attack power was low, but his attack speed was high. After seeing this, he laughed while considering this very fun. Pram was troubled by the thought that even though he continuously attacked him, his warrior's spirit hadn't broken down. He was enjoying this. Also, since he hasn't used his rapier for quite some time, his attack power is weak, but could he take down a barbarian in the first place using his rapier? The barbarian smiles and mentions him while Pram thinks he must take him down if they want to leave this place. He was smiling while Pram attacked him with his rapier, but the barbarian was surprised to see that Pram's speed was slowly adjusting to his speed, and if that were the case, he would have to end this all with one strike. However, the barbarian punches and strikes him so that he falls far away while his sword falls from his hand and blood comes out of his mouth. After seeing this, Desire gets worried by thinking he can't let Pram get injured again. On the other side, Pram feels as if he can't breathe, but he bravely steps forward and grabs his sword, thinking he cannot afford to fall there. Desire asks him to stop, but he replies that he is fine and can do this. While looking toward Desire, he thinks he is quite hard to read as he already knows everything about rapier and the meaning behind the engravings on the handle. But now he has to repay him for everything he has done for him. While the barbarian is smiling, he points to Pram again. Pram jumps to attack him while thinking if he will swing at him from above, but he understands what he will do now. The barbarian was about to punch Pram, but he stopped and started running while smiling. Pram also ran after him. Suddenly, he turned back and tried to attack Pram with his weapon, but Pram cut his weapon with his rapier. Desir was surprised to see how Pram had cut the sword with one blow. The barbarian attacked him again with his broken weapon, but Pram saved himself while sitting down. Pram released the value of his rapier while holding it in his hand and punched the barbarian so hard and hit him while the barbarian fell away that his head hit the ground and he died. Desir surprisingly asks Pram if he is fine at this. He replies he barely won, and if it weren't for this rapier, he would have been one on the floor because the barbarian was quite strong. Desir asks him about the place where the barbarian hit him. At this, he replies it's a bit sore, but he's fine. Then Desir looks at Wujukan and asks if they are finished now. He gets angry at them, and then Desir asks Pram to leave this place. He asks with a laugh where they thought they were going because that iron door is made from the iron ores from the Kihale mountain. Aside from that barbarian, no one has the strength to open that door, and they won't ever be able to leave this place without handing over the Blanksome rapier. Also, he congratulates Pram on his victory over the barbarian. After listening to this, they both get worried, and then he says that the door will only open when his guards come and open it, and if they don't want to endanger their lives any longer, then he suggests that he leave that rapier. Meanwhile, Pram breaks the door with his rapier, and Wujukan gets bewildered to see this. After this, they both run from there and reach a place where there are many people and shops. They stop there and take a breath, where Pram tells Desir he feels they stopped chasing them. Desir gets out of breath. He stops to catch his breath but gets relaxed to see rapier in Pram's hand. Desir asked Pram to eat something there as he was hungry. He replied he's well, can't he see? While on the way, when Pram is about to thank him, he stops him by saying he doesn't need to thank him because he's the one who put him in danger by provoking Wujukan, and there is nothing to thank him. He is the one who should be thanking him. While buying kebabs, Desir tells him that after hearing about his predicament, he couldn't leave him in that state because he is their party member. Then he asks him if he wants to eat. After hearing this all, Pram's tears start flowing from his eyes. However, while holding his rapier, he thinks he had lost sight of everything as he had entered the academy for one purpose, to find a clue as to who his father was. Also, after he thought he had learned the truth, everything became hazy and blurry, and he started living without any special goal. While crying, he thinks of his life without any purpose or direction. He had planned to live his life this way continuously, but for someone like him, Desir created a new path for him to walk. Then he thanks Desir for food while thinking that if that's the case, he will follow the path Desir has found for him and the words his father left behind. The words written on his sword were for his little bird that won't lose sight of his path. Suddenly, a bird flew above them, and its wing fell aside Desir's feet. On the other side, in the Alpha Class cafeteria where Romantica was standing aside, two fellows from Alpha Class passed by her, asking one another if she was a beta. Also, why did she come there? She just smelled like a commoner. Also, she might come to that place to see what this place was like. Romantica gets hurt to hear their conversation. Meanwhile, Donovan comes there to ask her if she waited long. However, they both come and sit aside. Donovan thanked her as she waited for him, and when Romantica saw the food that the waiter served there, she was surprised and mouth-watering to see the delicious food after so long. Seeing Romantica's reaction, he said the food served for the Alpha class was much better than the Beta class. He also wanted to see her for a while, and was glad they finally met again. When Romantic starts eating quickly, her mouth is full of food even though he can't speak. Donovan asks her the reason for meeting him. At this, she put the necklace on the table in front of him by saying she wanted to return it to him and that this was Donovan's gift. Surprisingly, he said he never thought she would reject him like this. Then he asks why he returns this by saying it is because she thinks it will be uncomfortable and burdensome dating. He gets surprised when she says that's not it because she has joined a nameless party in the Beta class. Then Donovan laughingly asks her if she was blackmailed into joining that party. She replies she decided by herself. Also, she didn't like the party at first, but now she enjoys being there. Their party leader tries his best to train them, and with his help, her skills have significantly improved. After this, she asks him, as he said the Beta class was just useless commoners, if he remembers his words. Hearing this, he angrily replies he didn't understand why she was bringing that up. However, the conversation between them continued. Then she tells him about herself, saying she is also a commoner. He is surprised to hear it, and then he tells her if she is a commoner, she would have accepted his proposal because that is the only way a commoner like her could come to the Alpha class. He offered to join his party, but she refused by saying she couldn't accept that. When he asks her why, she replies that her party member doesn't view her like he does while telling him everything. She is scared inside but still dares to tell him everything. After listening to this, Donovan angrily considers her trash. She tells him that the noble will always hate the commoner, and that she knows why nobles despise the commoners. And she also knows why Harem Academy became an academy based on lineage rather than talent and skills. Also, the nobles feared for a few republics to be born and led by the commoners. They don't want the revival of the commoners' republic formed by the commoners in the Harem Academy. However, times have changed. After the emergence of the Shadow World, anyone with the skills and strength could receive a magic gem. That is why the noble forced the commoner to be in the beta class, because the noble wanted to make it impossible for commoners to receive those gems. Then she tells him he, as a noble, is much like a king of a crumbling sand castle. Also, he doesn't know when the court will finally collapse, which scares them. Then he angrily asks her if she is telling him she will take part in forming a new republic. After this, she replies she just wanted to say to him why the noble despises the commoners. Even after 10 years have passed, the noble still fears the commoners. After listening to this, he angrily stands up, saying stop acting like she understands this trash. He angrily shouts at her by asking if she knows what happened, because he still remembers that incident as if it happened yesterday, and that evil from the Republic. Then she politely tells him she at least understands enough as to why they will become enemies. Also, their party will advance to the Alpha class, therefore they are enemies. Now saying this, she also stands up. But he thinks in anger that he will make sure none of them grow as they believe they can. After this, while leaving, Romantica tells him to look down on them. However, sitting with an angry face on the chair alone, he thinks of the time when commoners were gathered for the execution of nobles. They all were shouting to execute the head of the Hajun household because they lost their family members and only wanted justice. Thinking this angrily, he presses his hand inside his arm so much that it bleeds. The next day, the professor shouted while giving orders to beta class students to collect and put data sheets on the table. He has some books about the history of the Harem Academy, and he wants to be the first one to report the issue. He was happy to think if he did it first, it would become a great hit. However, in the academy, Alpha class students were gathered in the hall as they all were surprised and talked to each other about how the beta class students pulled the massive door off. Sitting in her office, Professor Bridget was happy that Desir had executed his plan perfectly. On the other side, in Professor Pugman's room, Jess Donovan and other Alpha class students were yelling at them. He was yelling. He throws the ink pot toward them, which falls on the floor and breaks after reading the data sheets. He can't bear how the beta class commoner will advance to the alpha class. He tears the page and throws it toward them while Jess grabs the messenger. He is still shouting because he can't bear how Professor Bridget thinks she is safe after making him suffer this humiliation. He angrily said he should kill him off when she said that student was someone she recommended to this academy. He asked how dare they think of contaminating the sacred alpha class. When he looks toward the datasheet on the table in front of him, on which there is a picture of both of them, it's written above that the beta class's party claims they will enter the top 30. After reading this, he raises his hand and hits the paper on the table by saying he will them off. After some time, when he relaxes, he asks for forgiveness for displaying such unsightly conduct, and then he tells them he can't allow these useless bugs to do whatever they want anymore. Also, they can no longer let them crawl around as they please, so he recommends them to use whatever means necessary to eliminate Desir's party. Afterward, they will claim the single ranker spots. Then she asks Jess if she previously fought with Desir, and when she nods yes, he asks her if she thinks she can beat him this time. When she replies she has thought of some plans to defeat him, Professor Pugman gets happy after listening to this, and then he says in excitement that he has decided to be the leader of the first-year students' party. He appoints Jess King's Crown. When she agrees with the professor, he orders her to do everything she can to eliminate Desir's party. However, she thought it was him again, but she still hadn't forgotten that day when he defeated her. Looking at her hands, she believed he had taught her what it meant to lose for the first time. She will not make the same mistakes she made during the entrance exams. Now, she will fight him with everything she has. After coming out of Professor Pugman's room, Donovan and Percival block her path by saying they have a request to ask of her as a fellow party member. When she asks if they are against her being the party leader, Donovan replies that's not it. It's something else. He would like it if she could leave Romantica from Desir's party to him, while Percival also requests her to leave Pram to him. Then they both ask her, saying they don't doubt her skills and they're sure she will be more than enough to take on all three of them independently, but they would appreciate it if she could leave to them. After listening to this, she replies she doesn't care what happens to either of them. However, she has one condition, an order from the party leader that they won't touch Desir Arman. he will be her opponent. However, Desire brings the history book to the library and places it on the table before Romantica and Pram. When they ask what about books, he replies these are the chronicle of the historical events, records of the Frivis Clock Tower's organization, and studies about the history of 1218. After this, Romantica asks him why he brought historical books there, and he replies that starting today, they will halt their training. Instead, they will focus on learning history. After this, when she excitingly asks about the history lesson, Desire and Pram ask her to speak softly. Then Desire tells them they must know the historical events in the Tier 5 Shadow World they will enter for their placement exams. Also, by completing the mission objectives of the Shadow World, they will be able to obtain a magic gem, and information about the Shadow Worlds is held within those magic gems. The Shadow World they will be entering during their placement exams is all recreated using the information from the magic gems. To put it simply, the meaning of recreated is that these Shadow Worlds can be controlled and manipulated so that they can create safety measures. Romantica read the history book very calmly while Pram asked what that was Desire when he said safety measures during their entrance exams. Were they able to suppress their sensory perception? To explain this to Pram, Desire, while pointing to the clock, says that although they can control and manipulate many things, they aren't allowed to manipulate the fundamental essence of the Shadow World, such as the events or the mission objectives. Why is it necessary for them to have historical knowledge? After this, Pram asks him if these historical books contain the information they need for the placement exams. Desire replies no, but these books might pertain to information for their placement exams. However, the conversation between them continued. Romantica asks him for the book he is holding while Desire tells them that after they read through all of these books, they have to submit a report about the key important information they learned from them. After listening to this, they are surprised while Desire thinks even though he came from the future, he can't tell them that he already knows what kind of a shadow world they're going into. While reading the book, Romantica teases Pram and points to him with her hands, asking him if he is close to Desire. After hearing this, Pram feels dizzy and shocked, and then she tells him that she is saying that they both look closer than before. He doesn't answer her and starts rereading the book, but she asks him again to go on a date without telling her. At this, he hesitatingly coughs and starts reading the book, and then she kicks her leg under the table. While Desire thinks with a smile about what they both are doing, Romantica insists on him telling her, but Pram says he doesn't know what she is talking about. Meanwhile, her book falls from the table to the floor while Desire angrily asks them why they don't read it carefully. Romantica bends down to pick up her book from the floor while Pram tells her he will pick it up, but she forbids him, saying she will take it herself. As she was about to grab the book, a Jess grabbed her book and gave it to her. At this, Romantica thanked her, but when she looked up, she got angry to see her there. A Jess clears her book and throws it on the table, and when Romantica asks her what she is doing there, instead of answering, she sits on the chair next to her. After this, a Jess shows herself well to Desire, and then she says as it has been a while after hearing this. He smiles and asks her if it has been 2 months already. He heard she was at the Blue Moon party, and then he congratulated her for her decision, and he is glad that she was able to join a suitable party. On the other side, Romantica tells Pram to calm down because he was surprised at her being there, and when a Jest asked Desire about in which way he thought that party was suitable for her, Romantica replied she guessed it was that both of them were very strong. After hearing this, she blinks and replies, unfortunately, that isn't true anymore, and that is because Desir Arman exists. When she was about to tell the reason for her coming there, Desire asked her to declare war upon them as she respected him as a worthy rival. So before their match began, she wanted to give him an official declaration of war, and that's her personality. After this, she replies he seems to know her quite well. Just as he said, she thinks of him as his rival. Desire replies with a laugh that he is quite flattered at this. She says that even if he mocks her, there is nothing she can say to him. While that day, when she evaluated him poorly and looked down upon him, it was all due to her carelessness. However, it will be different this time. And then she stands up, saying she will take him on with everything she has and defeat him. While Desire feels it good to hear that's how she became stronger. Also, he thinks he went overboard to defeat her because he wanted to reignite her competitive spirit again. After all, she is the core figure of their attack force within the Shadow World, and she will need to become stronger than ever before. While she was leaving, Desire said he would be looking forward to their battle with a Jest King's Crown. On the day of Harem Academy's placement exams, many people were sitting in the stadium, and the media's people were questioning Professor Pugman. Then, Desire, Romantica, and Pram were coming out from the entrance door. At the same time, on the way, Pram said, "It's so freaking loud in there." At this, Desire replied while wearing gloves that the placement exams are the most significant events held within the academy. They were setting themselves up and fixing their things. Meanwhile, Romantica asks Desire if he is wearing his necktie properly today. He replies that he usually dresses casually at formal events. At this, she teased him, saying she just thought he was an exhibitionist and didn't like to wear his tie properly because he wanted to show off his body. At this, he grabbed her arms from behind. Pram gets scared to see this and then says he thinks Desire Sir looks excellent either way, and they can buy a more comfortable necktie later. While Desire was pleased to think that Romantica and Pram weren't nervous, he wondered if it was better for them to be this way. He asked them if they were ready, and they enthusiastically replied yes. After this, they moved to the ground area. People from the beta class and commoners were cheering them while nobles were in opposition. They were surprised to see how they were transporting them while a jest and her team stood aside. One of them, looking at Desire, said he looked pretty ordinary at this. The other said, "Don't get cocky, did he forget what Professor Pugman told them?" Desire encourages and makes his team members understand by saying he knows to stop worrying. He will pulverize them, and they will decide on their positions right now while a jest looks toward them. Desire then tells Romantica that she is going to be their sniper, and she is going to position herself far away from them and use her search magic to locate the enemy position. After that, she will identify them and take them down. Romantica was confused by thinking as he wanted her to be a spinner, and she didn't know if her magic would work on alpha class students. Desire tries to make her understand by saying she needs to fire her magic at them as soon as she detects them, and it doesn't matter if they are in the alpha class or not, and if she doesn't give people proper time to prepare and react, they will be caught off guard. Romantica panickingly said this was her first time making a long-distance attack. She didn't know how much force she would need. While encouraging her, Desire tells her she should be worried about the ball as she already used it during her training. It was made with the same strength and durability as a human head. However, while remembering her training time with the ball, she is shocked at the thought that Desire already knows everything. Also, the training he made them go through was all preparation for this day. She needed to understand how someone predicted the situation they were going to be in. After this, he orders Pram to protect them as he will be their half-dealer. After this, Romantica asks him if both of their positions have been determined. Desire, what is his position going to be? However, he replies if he had to explain it in simpler terms, he guessed he would be the playmaker. Meanwhile, the announcement was made that the gate to the shadow world is now opening, and all the students may line up and enter through the gate. On one side, there was a blue moon and other parties. On the other, Desire, Pram, and Romantica were ready for placement exams. After this, there is an announcement that the placement exam will begin while Desire, standing on the ground, feels the time that it seems to be around 11 o'clock. An announcement is made that he will locate the enemy's base as a soldier, and he has received information that states that a hostile enemy base is nearby. Now, he has to search for it. After listening to this announcement, he moves ahead, but in a way, he thinks he doesn't see Romantica and Pram there. Meanwhile, he felt ice bolt magic near him, and then the girl standing aside said she guessed she was quite lucky that she couldn't believe that she found him this fast. Already Desire. At this, he replies with a smile that he didn't realize he was this famous, while she thinks he is famous in a bad way. Also, that's quite unfortunate, and then she throws an ice blast toward him. Desire also throws his fire road while thinking she is utilizing two different magic at once because she throws a fire blast and aqua waves toward him. When both sides' magic collapses, Desire thinks one of her magic was a defensive spell. Still, her magic will be plugged in and stopped if it's like that. She attacks him with both magic. Desire can hardly save himself from her ice fragments but still gets a little injured. A huge tornado was around Desire, full of ice fragments and aqua waves. She asked Desire if he was fascinated by this level of magic, which a commoner like him would never achieve. And when she asks him any last words at this, he replies that he admits he was a bit surprised and the idea behind her magic was good. However, while using his fire blast, he tells her she chose the wrong opponent. She gets angry and shouts when she sees him analyzing her magic. Desire tells her to never look down on the opponent and always think ahead of the opponent, and that's the basis of the battlefield. She again attacked him with her aqua wave, asking how he could think she would lose to some commoner's magic. But her magic attacked her back, and it attacked her so hard that she got injured and started bleeding from her mouth. However, there is an announcement that one person has been eliminated. Currently, 29 contestants are standing. Then a contestant comes into the ground area while talking to himself, saying he can't believe he was dropped into this shitty grassland and why the weather is so hot. Meanwhile, he feels a blow of wind toward him, but when he looks back, it is that girl's magic aqua wave, and these waves make him injured. However, an announcement was made that one person had been eliminated. Currently, 27 contestants are standing. On the other side, Romantica and Pram were on the ground. Pram asks her about Desire, and she replies that she thinks he's probably been summoned far away from them. But in any case, they both are lucky because they were summoned pretty close to each other. When Pram asks her if she thinks they can find Desire at this, she nods yes, but he has to step back from her. He feels a little strange after listening to this. While using her magic, she thinks there are 2 nearby. Now, make that 3. And there is 1 other person in the other direction as well. So that makes it 4 people in total. And when she throws her magic aside, her magic gets analyzed by the opponent. After this, she thinks she first has to get rid of the opponent who has analyzed her magic. And when she tells Pram to get ready because she has found them, Pram feels she has found Desire. But when 2 opponents come from behind, Pram gets surprised to see them saying this isn't Desire. However, one of them said if she uses her search magic carelessly, doesn't she realize that her location is also revealed? He guessed that's to be expected by the trash. After listening to this, Romantica and Pram prepare for a fight by asking if they should see if they truly are trash. As he moved forward to attack Romantica, she said even if he knew where they were located, he thought he could beat them. While getting ready for the fight, she said she didn't know where he was getting that confidence from. Hearing this, they both get surprised. Meanwhile, Pram moves to attack him with his dagger, but he blocks Pram's attack by thinking as expected from trash, they both have no manners. He hit Pram and threw him away with his weapon at this. Pram was surprised to see how his attack failed. Romantica adds by saying they're quite skilled while the girl with that guy asks him if he is alright at this. He replies to her by saying stop panicking. Does she think an attack of that level would hurt him? Also, he tells her to stop flustering around and get ready while saying Pram to get ready for the fight. However, the fight starts between them. Pram, while holding his rapier, runs toward him so fast that the guy doesn't understand his movement from where he is coming and where he's going. The girl with that guy scaringly asks why he is so fast. Is he really from beta class? That guy hit his sword, but Pram saved himself from his attack. He slammed his sword on the ground so that dust spread everywhere. He ordered the girl that now was her chance to hurry and cast her search magic. As she gets ready to attack with her magic, Romantica attacks her with her wind strike, saying they shouldn't only focus on Pram. Otherwise, she would be sad if they forgot about her. When the guy shouts while telling the girl to get up and help him, Pram attacks him from behind, saying they shouldn't look away from their opponent in the battle. He attacks him back with his weapon. But Pram jumps so high even though he doesn't understand what is happening around him and how a beta class could beat them like this. Looking upward at Pram, he says now isn't the best time for him to focus on him. Meanwhile, Romantica attacks him with her magic by saying farewell to Mr. Alpha's class. However, the announcement was made that one person had been eliminated. After defeating them, Romantica told them that the way they executed their plan was wrong, and that if they attacked them as soon as they detected her, they probably would have won. And this was all their fault for looking down on them for being a beta class student. When she asks Pram how it is going on his end, he replies he just finished right now. When an announcement is made that one more person has been eliminated, they both get delighted that they defeated alpha class students, and then she appreciates Pram, saying that his skills have improved. He happily replies that it's all thanks to Desire. Meanwhile, Romantica said he had completely forgotten about Desire. She shouted and asked Desire to come out from behind the tree as she knew he had been observing them for quite some time by hiding himself there. After coming out, he appreciates them, saying they are doing so well. He gets a bit carried away watching them and misses his chance to step in. Also, he was planning to help them, but they didn't need his help, and Pram ran to hug him while asking if he was watching them the whole time. But Romantica thinks he way too easily analyzes the strongest magic she cast against them. Even though they're the same party, it still feels wrong. After appreciating Pram, when he puts his hand on Romantica's head to appreciate her, she shouts by asking what he is doing at this. He replies that she was looking at him as if she also wanted to be complimented. However, the conversation between them continued. After this, Desire asks them to prepare as it's getting late and will probably start soon. After this, there were many demonic rats near the clock tower. Conversely, the Red Moon Party member defeats the Alpha class student with fire by saying it was nothing personal, just that his luck was terrible. Then an announcement was made one person had been eliminated, and there were currently 24 contestants standing. After this, while Romantica, Desire, and Pram sat aside, she asked another person who was stopped. Desire replied it would seem so. When Romantica asks Desire about the plan, he says he will discuss it with them. While drawing on mud with the stick, he explains to them that they only have 2 ways to advance to the Alpha class. The first method is for them to clear the quest objective of the Shadow World and take first place, while the second method is for them to survive and become one of the 9 left standing. When she asks, as he told them, the first method was impossible for them, he replies that it is not possible with their current power, and they need to clear the quest objective and defeat other parties simultaneously. But they do have the chance with the second method to make them understand. He draws everything on the ground with a stick and tells them about the plan by saying they don't need to take first place. They can remain within the top 9. Also, the other parties will fight each other, and there are currently 24 contestants remaining. So while they are fighting each other, they will need to eliminate 15 more people. Then, he asks if this sounds more accessible than the first method. At this, Pram nods his head in yes while he draws Desire, Romantica, and his picture on the ground. Seeing this, she laughs. Suddenly, the clouds thunder and it starts raining, so they quickly shelter under the tree. Pram asks Desire that it will probably rain for a long time. He replies that they will need more time to continue their plan. Pram gets happy that they get some time for rest while Romantica is thinking within the Alpha class. Desire wants them to be within the top 9. This is something she probably would never achieve if she were alone. She wonders what would have happened if she had hidden her true identity and accepted Donovan's proposal. Meanwhile, Desire put his hand on Romantica's head by saying stop looking so worried because she has been doing well so far. And even if it feels like she's in danger, don't worry, she has him. At this, she gets a little impressed by his words, but the rain becomes very fast. She shouts by saying she told him to stop touching her, and then he withdraws his hand from her head. Pram is happy she is back to normal, and he likes it. After this, it was 1 o'clock, and the bell rang. Desire asked if it was already time for that. While the Alpha class and Beta class students and Desire's team were standing, an announcement was made that utilized the prior knowledge to identify the situation they were in right now. Also, the previous clock tower has been set, and this clock tower is an escalation device. It will spawn 1 demonic creature per hour, and a new quest has been started while Romantica needs help understanding the search. Also, a sinister creature resides within this forest and survives this wicked creature's attack. The pursuit will not end until the demonic creature has been subdued. But they don't understand the demonic creature. Desire asks Romantica and Pram to stay off while it still rains. When he moves ahead, they both call his name and ask him to stop because it is raining. Suddenly, they feel a strange smell, and when Desire moves ahead, he is scared to see a demonic creature approaching them. At this, he shouts to get ready. Meanwhile, a demonic rat comes out of the mud they were scared to see, and Romantica shouts while crying at the fiendish rat again because she thinks this art comes out of the ground due to Desire. Pram and Romantica, while holding Desire, tell him to save them. They both, while screaming, run away. Desire stops them from running because a large swarm will come behind them if they run away. Many demonic rats approach them, and the 3 started running away in fear. At the same time, an announcement was made that they must utilize their prior knowledge to comprehend the nature of this demonic creature. However, they were the Kuldramice, a tier 2 demonic creature that utilizes numerous rats as their body and human blood as its food source. It will relentlessly pursue prey once it has been marked. They were running fast while rats were following them to attack them. Romantica attacked them with her wind blow magic, but her magic did not affect them. Desire tells her to conserve her mana for now and not use it, but she is crying while running. She replies they're going to eat them. Do something. Hurry. When a mouse attacks him from behind, he thinks it's not like there isn't a way to resolve this, but he doesn't know if that is the best way to do it. While running, Pram tells Desire that the road ahead is blocked, and Desire tells them to jump over it. He jumps, but when Romantica tries to jump, she is about to fall, but Desire grabs her arm and pulls her up. But the swarm of mouse was about to attack them while they were running. Romantica asked him how they were supposed to defeat the creature, and Desire replied that they needed to get rid of the main body. When she asks him where the main body is located, he says it's inside that swarm. But Romantica does not understand how they should get inside it. Meanwhile, Desire takes off his glove and bites his hand so hard even though his hand bleeds, and then he throws his blood toward the rats by saying it is their favorite food. When one of them opens his mouth to get the blood, Desire tells Romantica to attack him with her magic, and she attacks him with her wind bullet and throws it away. However, she tells Desire that her magic must have been strong enough, and he replies that it's fine. Although it looks weak, it's still a tier 2 demonic creature, but it went back into the swarm. and now they have to run because it will soon catch up to them. Desir asks them to run, but Pram moves toward their swarm to kill them while they both are shouting and asking Pram to stop. But he doesn't listen to them and jumps into their swarm while the rapier. While standing in the swarm, he thinks he needs to focus on finding the main body as it is injured by magic. He needs to find the trace of its injury. He throws many rats away to find the main body while Desir worries about Pram. Romantica asks him to use her magic to find Pram from this swarm. But Desir stops her, saying don't, she might injure Pram simultaneously. Suddenly, from the swarm of rats, Pram jumps out with the main rat while hanging it on his dagger. And the announcement is made that he has eliminated the Kildra mouse, and the current quest has been completed. Romantica and Desir run to him to ask if he is alright, but by replying, he says he doesn't feel so he is about to fall on the ground in a daze. But Desir saves him and puts his head in his cradle. He appreciates him, while Pram said he must have overexerted himself and is exhausted right now and needs some rest. While saying he would rest for a bit, he fell asleep. Desir leaves Pram in Romantica's care for a bit, and goes to the other side. It was nighttime, and still, it was raining. While standing alone under the shadow of the sky, he looked up, saying he was too full of himself. This quest could have been easily cleared without putting Pram in danger. He hit himself on the face so hard that his hand started bleeding, while in anger, he thought he needed to focus. On the other side, Pram was sitting under the tree's shadow, and Romantica thought the rain didn't want to stop. Meanwhile, Desir came over there, and she asked him angrily where he had gone and what if another party had come and attacked him. Then she asks him about his face, and he replies he just went to scout the area for a bit and doesn't worry about his face. When Pram regains consciousness, Desir asks him how he is doing, and when he replies he is alright, he says he thinks it is time for them to start moving. Pram is surprised to see Desir's face, but he relaxes him by saying it is nothing to worry about. Is it okay for them to start moving again? Romantica asks Desir where he plans on moving in this weather. While they are all drenched at this, he points toward the tower and tells them to go that side. Meanwhile, an announcement is made that another quest has been started to stop the clock tower, and at the top of the clock tower, a power source operates the tower. While moving ahead, Pram says it's his fault that they got late, but Romantica politely replies it's fine, and they survived because of him in the first place. She was feeling cold, and then she asked them to hurry. At this, Pram said with a smile that he was sure it would be warm inside the tower. However, Desir, looking toward his hand, thinks he won't make the same mistake again. He will ensure he achieves his goals perfectly. On the other side, Jess breaks the frozen rats with her sword and remembers the words of how the announcement was made that beta class students have eliminated the Kildra mouse. Her team members were also with her in the rain. One of them said the rest of the rats would disperse by killing the main body. Then they asked Jess who the party leader was, as 2 party members had been eliminated. It meant they had only 7 people remaining in their party. And then Percival said that they were still in the lead among 18 survivors. 7 of them were from their party. By the looks of it would be easy for them to take the single ranker position. Then Jess tells them that in any case, everyone gathers around and they will modify their position. And then suddenly she feels a wind, and with her magic, she freezes Percival when he asks about what it is. She replies there is a sniper and the enemy is near them, and then her party members stand around her to protect her while holding swords. Then one of them asks, "Party leader, it seems they aren't attacking them anymore." At this, she asks them to maintain their position, and they will move towards the tower without letting their guard down. However, while moving ahead, she thinks they're in a bad position, and the weather and the current status of her party members are not optimal. The attack from earlier found their location and immediately attacked them simultaneously. No mages have that advanced skill among first-year students, and this exam will not be as easy as she hoped. On the other side, when they enter the clock tower, Desir, wearing gloves, asks them to get started. And now this is the time to fight between Desir's team, Jess's team, and the Red Moon party. Desir looked through the window while Romantica stood beside him. She told him she could locate them, but her attack failed. He replied that as long as Jess was with them, he didn't expect their attack to work. After this, she asks him, but will their location be revealed if their attack fails? He replies with a smile, which is the key point. Also, they don't just attack the Blue Moon party, they have to attack all the other parties. She gets afraid to listen to this and asks him if he is in the right state of mind, but he is smiling. Then she shouted saying didn't he hear what she just said? Then he tells her they're weaker in an all-out war against them, but it will be a different story if it is free for all. Also, there's no point if their location gets revealed to them, but they need to think of a different plan that guarantees their safety. Also, she has to trust him. However, the conversation continues, and then she asks him if he thinks they will come there at this. He nods his head yes, because this place is the quest destination. She was confused because she felt that the demonic rats and Pram's injuries incident affected his mind. Meanwhile, looking out the window, Pram tells the other parties are starting to converge upon that place. After listening to Desir while straightening his gloves, he says they should start. However, it was raining. The other parties were moving ahead while heading toward the clock tower. One member of the Blue Moon party said this place is quite big, and the other got permission from a jest to open the door. They are surprised to see many other parties standing there when they enter. Seeing them there, Gabriel from the Red Moon party angrily says it must have been the Blue Moon party who attacked them earlier. Even if they're the strongest party within the academy, the numbers are too low. And the other members of his party relax him, saying he shouldn't provoke them right now. The jest, while looking toward Gabriel, thinks as he placed second amongst the first-year students, Donovan, while looking toward the Red Moon party, also asks where they were attacked. At this, Gabriel, with a smile, replies stop feigning innocence also. A magician who could execute that kind of attack can't be anyone else but someone from the Blue Moon party. The jest understands that the one who attacked them was Daisy, whose plan was not to clear the quest objective. Gabriel shouted them, saying members of the Blue Moon party. He ordered them to locate and top the sniper in Desir's party. She said she would hold these 6 people while taking out his sword. Gabriel, making fun of her, asks if she remembers the day of the entrance exam and how she came to Alpha class dishonestly. Saying this, he attacks her with a spare burn and tells her there should be a limit to her arrogance. Gabriel's party members were getting happy by saying take what he thinks of their party leader's magic, and when the girl standing aside tells him to look in front of him. And when he looked, it was a jest who was standing in front of him. Also, she killed him with her magic, and like this, she killed the other members one after the other. After this, she kills the girl from the red party with the ice wall. Now, the only one who left from the Red Moon party was Gabriel, and when she moved toward him, he got scared and looked aside where other party members from Alpha class were standing, and he called them to get into it to prove their worth as they were from Alpha class. After this, the Pine Tree party members come toward a jest with their weapons while the fight continues, and she kills Gabriel and the party members. Suddenly, Romantica feels that someone is coming upstairs. Pram, Desir, and Romantica are all afraid, and when the door opens, no one else but a jest, holding her sword in hand, asks them what a foolish plan. However, the clock gears start moving while Desir replies with a smile that their plan would have worked if it wasn't for her, and then she says that at first, his plan almost went his way. Also, when all the remaining parties gathered together and when she noticed his party wasn't there, she was able to conclude what his party's true intentions were, as he wanted the remaining parties to fight each other and eliminate each other so that his party will be able to enter within the top 9 rankings, and that was his plan all along while her other party members were also coming upstairs. Also, this is why she didn't eliminate the other party members. Instead, she has subdued and tied them up, and now his party will not be able to enter the top 9 rankings. However, her party members also get over there, and then she tells Desir all that's left for him is to fight them. The Blue Moon party was ready to fight them. Pram also took out his sword, a jest, while attacking him with her ice-freezing magic, and angrily shouted that if he had what it takes to qualify for the single ranking positions, then he would have to prove that worth by defeating her. The clock gears were still moving. Suddenly, long ice pillars came out of the floor. Romantica and Pram get scared, and then she stands at one of the pillars while holding her sword in front of Desir. However, ice was all around Desir, and from behind, Percival came and collided his sword with Pram's rapier by asking where he was looking as his opponent. While holding his sword, Donovan comes near Romantica by saying that the others are out of the way, so they get on with their fight. Also, in all honesty, he is quite surprised that her party was able to make it this far. But this is the end, and then he takes off his jacket and comes toward Romantica, saying now this is the end of her party and her life. However, the fight between Pram and Percival continues. During this, he asks Pram if he gave up on using his longsword to go ahead and scurry around like he did last time. Percival tries to make him angry, and then he asks Pram what happened to his vigor from last time. At this, he angrily says he talks too much. Percival gets angry after listening to how a beta class student could stand before him like this. Meanwhile, Pram jumps to attack him. He moves so fast that Percival doesn't understand his movement. The fight continued between the two, and Pram's attacking speed was so fast. While looking at this, Percival didn't understand what was happening because Pram blocked all his attacks. He remembers the previous time he injured Pram with his sword, and when Pram hit him in the stomach, He surprisingly asks how he polished his skills in just a few weeks. On the other side, Romantica attacks Donovan with her wind strike but blocks her magic by saying she is weak for a tier 2 magic circle magician. After listening to this, she angrily shouts it because she has been sniping so much that she is tired of thinking this is bad. She doesn't have much mana now, and if he attacks her at close range, she will be disadvantaged. Then he asks her what it is. She asks him to go easy on her just because she's tired. And suddenly, a lot of fog goes up there. Donovan is surprised to see this, but she thinks, isn't this a magic spell from an analysis? And if it's an analysis, then it could be desire. Donovan didn't understand what was happening because the fog was everywhere. Then he thinks his views have been obstructed about her, but he guesses this goes the same for her as well. Then he angrily asks about Romantica's plan, and when he looks back, he is suddenly attacked by the wind of magic on his right hand. While thinking his location revealed someone, nobody is there when he looks around behind him. But the wind of magic attacking him continued. He saved himself with his sword and thought she was using the wind to find his location. And naturally, magicians are weak. And when they're fighting, a swordsman like him nearby, she uses the fog to hide her presence from him. While grabbing his collar, he thought it was her foolish plan. While on the other side, Romantica was running, and the fog was everywhere around her. She was thankful that the fog came in at the right time. Now, all she needed to do was to finish him off by not revealing her position. She sadly thought, but she had to use her search magic. A magic spell and fog surrounded her, and this magic spell attacked her. After seeing this, Donovan thinks what kind of reaction was that she's way more innocent than he expected. When she asks him about the necklace he is wearing at this, he replies that it was magic gear as he told her she would regret not accepting this. Whatever, this item is something that isn't befitting for a commoner in the first place. She gets angry after listening to his words, and then she angrily asks him why does he keep saying this, and that commoner what is the difference between him and her in the first place. Also, it does matter if he is a noble or a commoner. They're all students of the same academy, and when he asks about how they could both be equal, at this, she replies while shouting at him that's right, they're all students.